back in that situation with him where it's how much can you stomach his sadness or emotion versus how much can you stomach when he attacks you or judges you or has a go at you. So you're in that tricky balance point, because his emotions and his sadness that he is telling you about are bringing you back in, and then the way he treats you when he brings you back in is consistent. So his behavior isn't changing. You do say he seems genuinely sad. That's okay. It's okay that we're genuinely sad, by the way, you know, and that's a really important thing for any empath to kind of get with. I don't know about you, but the times I've been genuinely sad, I can think of a handful of times in my life, and I've been genuinely sad many times. I can only think of like a couple of times in my life where I wanted to blame someone else for that sadness. And most of the time I was in that feeling and I wasn't blaming someone else. And I was sitting with, okay, what is this? What does this mean for me? Now, the problem is when someone isn't aware of their own emotions and what their emotions mean, and how emotions are just a part of life and they're part of our growth and they're part of our soul and our human experience, they will blame or manipulate others around those emotions. I'm feeling a bad emotion, you should come home because then the emotion's going to go away. Well, it actually won't. It will just change. It will just become a different emotion because you'll come home and the sadness that drew you in, that had vulnerability and softness in it, will turn into hardness and will turn into an edge. So you've got two options really. You can either look at this more deeply, what I'm talking about, you know, the part of you that's easily triggered by the idea that he's sad, which is okay, because we're all, I don't know any human being on the planet who isn't sad at some point or doesn't have sadness around loss, and I do not enjoy sadness when it hits me or when it comes up for me, but it's a part of life. So the fact that you're so consistent about his behavior means you're going to have to be consistent now about your behavior, and that's usually the problem in any kind of empath, narcissist or codependent relationship. It's that the consistency of behavior that the other person displays is matched by a complete willingness to be inconsistent in our own, to be yanked around by how they're behaving. So the other option you've got, if in any doubt, and this is a good, you know, metaphor for any tricky thing in life that you're trying to do that's new, or, you know, trying to behave differently in a relationship, but it's pulling on you a bit, is to maybe tone it down and to see what taking a backward step feels like, because the proof will be in the pudding. If you feel so torn that you go, you know what, I'm just going to go over there more often. Great, go over there more often and pay attention to what happens. And if, when you do that, you are consistently shown that he then cannot help himself but be mean or judgmental or harsh to you, and when you bring that up with him, he doesn't want to know, doesn't want to take responsibility, doesn't want to go, oh, you're right, God, I'm sorry, or I'll think about that. If there's no remorse and no willingness to try and change, then you're going to really have to look at this part of you that keeps getting yanked back. And it's a part of you that's uncomfortable with the sadness or the difficult feelings of others, because he's not showing you the same empathy. So it's very hard with parents or with family. I mean, these relationships, we're bonded in a different way in these relationships. So it's not for me to tell you exactly what to do in this relationship, because the bond with your dad could be the thing that's drawing you back. But I would say if you're concerned about the way you are playing it with him right now, tone it down a bit and see if that feels more comfortable. It's important to find your comfort spot, but equally, if you tone it down and you see him a bit more, have a bit more contact, and it backfires, pay attention to that too, because that's your confirmation. So all of this is you working towards consistent behavior. And this is the hardest thing usually for an empath to get to with the narcissist. And it's usually the point where the relationship changes, or if it's not a family relationship especially, breaks up, when the empath finally learns to hold a really strong boundary to the narcissist. And that includes not being swayed when they are emotional, because you know what the other side of the emotion is. And if that has consistently been shown to you, then nobody's winning by you walking back in there.